We're going to go ahead and take a look at number 67, so we're going to practice further with rational equations. So number 67 reads as 5 all over y plus 4 plus 2 over y plus 2 is equal to 6 over y plus 2 minus 1 over y squared plus 6y plus 8. So with problems like these, we can go ahead and see if we can consolidate the problem down further before we do any really heavy lifting. If you notice, for example, I'm going to circle what I'm noticing here. On the left-hand side, I have a 2 over y plus 2, and on the right-hand side, I have a 6 over y plus 2. So maybe one option that we could do is, since these have a common denominator, I can subtract that 6 over y plus 2 from both sides so that I can combine like terms. I'm okay to do that because I have a common denominator of y plus 2 in this situation. So it maybe doesn't give us much or a whole lot of help, but it does reduce the size of the problem. Okay. You do or do not have to do this. Either way, it's fine. As I've said in class before, there are multiple pathways to getting to the same solution. The only difference between the pathways is one might be more efficient than the other, but even in those instances, you're kind of splitting hairs. So what I would suggest doing now is notice the denominator of the term on the right-hand side. It's a quadratic. And we've kind of gone through and reviewed what you can do with quadratics. So maybe we can simplify this down with a little bit of factoring. So I'm just going to go ahead and write the factoring right underneath in red. So I'm going to focus on my leading term first. And I know that y squared can be broken into y and y. And then for 8, I need to decide here. So 8 could probably be broken down into 4 and 2. Maybe. We'll see if that works. And then from there, we can also focus on the context of the signs. So the 8 that I'm going to have has to be positive. And the middle term also is positive. So what will that tell you about the signs that are going to populate between the y and the 4 and the y and the 2? If you said that they will be positive, you would be correct. Take a moment and look at the left-hand side. Look at those denominators. It's like they were almost giving you a hint as to how to factor. So sometimes use those context clues to your advantage. So I'm going to rewrite the problem so I have a clearer working space. So now we want to find that common denominator. I'm just going to go ahead and be lazy and abbreviate that as CD. And again, let's list unique terms. Well, I'm seeing a y plus 4 happening, and then I'm also seeing a y plus 2, and those are the only unique terms that I'm seeing in the denominator. And again, I only want to look in the denominator because I'm looking for a common denominator. So we'll go through, and we'll multiply each term by my key here, my key common denominator. The longest part is actually writing everything out. Okay, so now comes the fun part. We're going to go ahead and reduce out anything that I can. And what I'm left with is 5 times the quantity y plus 2 minus 4 times the quantity y plus 4 is equal to -1. Much less intimidating, right? So we'll distribute, and we get 5y plus 10 minus 4y minus 16. Bear in mind that when you are distributing, the sign that's in front of the number is going to go with it. So -4 times +4 will give you -16. this is equal to negative 1. Let's clean up what we have here. So it looks like we can combine those. So that will just be a 1y, or we just write it as y. And then we have a 10 and a negative 16, so that'll be negative 6 is equal to negative 1. Add 6 to both sides, and we show that y is equal to 5. There's our solution. Again, you can always plug it back into the original problem and make sure that you get a true statement in this instance. If you do not, double check your work to make sure that you have not encountered some sort of calculation error. Alright, there you go.